Boo. Where am I gonna put you? What am I even gonna do with you? Huh? What am I gonna do? Does that work? That wall's a wall, you know? It's a little different. So, bro, it's cold in here, but I'd rather have it cold than hot. Do you want blue, Celeste, or that? That's actually like more realistic. That's terrifyingly realistic. I'm not realistic. All right, one second. Whoa. You're going through all the dimensions right now to prepare for the video. Don't even blame me. You needed some extra dimensions there. I had to help you. You needed it. It was a reward for everything that you've ever experienced on the planet. You need a little reward for that, alright? And you're gonna continue to have them, alright? Alright. I make the weirdest faces while putting on chapstick. You're welcome. I hope you enjoyed that. You should have, or you were not trying hard enough. Try harder. I bet you're barely even trying. And I know that. I'm watching you. I'm watching you. What, am I gonna trust you to try hard in the future? No. 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 Okay. So a couple of different things to talk about. First, I'll talk about my dream last night because it's like fresh on my mind. Actually, I had like 8 dreams, but I don't remember them all. I probably remember like 4 of them, but I just know that I had other ones that I like switched from. You know, I definitely had other dreams that I like switched back and forth from. There were some dreams where I was trying to catch a train, and like, yeah, I made it on the train, but you know when you have so much fear that something's not gonna work out and it's not gonna happen? There's a lint on me. Oh, it's like the worst kind of lint where hair, someone like cutting the grass or whatever, not really, like that stick thing that cuts the grass. It sounds like, I don't know, how would I know? That's what it sounded like. How would I know? Why would I be an expert on grass cutting? Maybe I am. Maybe I like got a degree on that in a past life or something, but no. No. Okay. Okay, so yeah, so you know when you're like trying to run and like catch a train or a bus, right? And you do make it, but the level of stress that you acquire in trying to get there makes your brain still like not believe that you ever actually like made it there. So then it causes almost like a processing issue where you're like, part of my brain is actually in the past where like I still don't believe that I made it on the train even though I'm physically there. It's like not real, like it's not like sinking in for you, right? Because you were fully like spending so much time being like, there's absolutely no way I'm ever gonna make the train. Like, you know, it's like it almost grows so many new neurological pathways for like, what am I gonna do when I don't make the train? You know what I'm saying? Like it causes so many neurological pathways to like sprout like a chia pet, where suddenly all over the surface of your cranium is like, I already know what I'm gonna do when I don't make that train. But then you make it on the train and you're like, now what? Like you think you're on like the 11th dimension or something. You're like, now what? Like, where am I? This timeline exists? This outcome exists? I don't even believe in that anymore, dude. But I'm physically on the train. But I'm physically on the train. Is my tongue blue? No. Good, because I just brushed my teeth and because I did not eat candy before bed, but I've been eating blue candy a lot more. So I'm starting to like not even know if I will, like, some people are gonna get it. Which I'll get into as the second literal thing that I'm gonna say. Why did I aggressively put on chapstick for you? I wanted to and I really liked it, and if you didn't, again, like, you're just not even trying. You should have been trying. That should be your default. If you can't even go that far, then how am I gonna meet you halfway in anything else? I'm not. Yeah, anyway, so that was not even my, I mean, it was my dream, but it wasn't like the one that I wanted to tell you about. The dream that I wanted to tell you about was, it like bounced. Like I dropped the chapstick and it didn't do it here. It's the same wooden surface, but it's more dense right in front of you than on that side. The termites got to the other side. So it bounces on the surface that the termites already had eaten, and it doesn't bounce on the surface where you're at, and they even make different sounds. They even make different sounds. They even make different sounds. They make different sounds. Do I want this? I mean, I have it. Like, I mean, like, do I want to use it? It's this Pillow Mist. It's a lavender sage scented, and it's from Nature Love. Nature Love. It's pretty good. The other scents that I got in the pack with Nature Love kind of hit you differently. The cap ended its life. The cap, you know, it like rolled and tumbled and fell and I know where it is, but I'm not gonna, well, am I gonna get it now? It stresses me out to not have the cap because I'm gonna forget where it is. So I'm gonna get the cap. Okay. So wait, I do want to use that, but you know what I hate? It's like wet on the top, so it's like the pillow mist is gonna get on me. Like, these things leak a little bit, but I like them because they have good energy. And I like this brand because the label also and the bottle holding it itself, it feels like it has good energy, like, within it naturally. So for that reason, even though they leak, I just decided to like tolerate that because they don't leak down here. It's only like on the top when you open it and you touch this thing, sometimes it's wet. Mysteriously, even though it's always like standing up. Everybody's got their issues. Who knows? So the actual dream that I wanted to tell you guys about, well, there were a few that I was just hanging out with like random people, but those are like random. There was a dream, the main one I wanted to talk to you about. I was hanging out with a bunch of drag queens, and that was like, you know, really interesting. Obviously, it's always an interesting time. Always an interesting time. And so the drag queens, like, there were like a couple of them, like a few of them, not like a lot. I said a bunch, but like I meant like only like 3, 2, I don't know. I said a bunch, because I rarely see drag queens. I don't know, it should be more common. And so the drag queens turned to me and they were like, well, they were all talking about if they would ever get married someday, right? So one of the drag queens turned to me and said, Celeste, would you ever get married someday? I said, that's a really complicated question, because I think the only person that I would ever hypothetically want to get married, I would have to literally kidnap and like force to marry me. Like I guess, like, you know, it sounds like it's not gonna happen, right? The drag queen literally, like, this was like, you know, you're gonna get it. Okay, so I don't know the drag queen's pronouns, but she turned to me and said, well, that's the same thing with me. And then I like explained more about the person, whatever, and then she said, Celeste, don't get brainwashed. Like, she was like, give me your hand, right? It was my right hand, okay? Right, so she said, give me your hand. So it was my right hand. She takes my hand, goes like that over my pointer finger, and her doing that essentially gave me a tattoo on my pointer finger on my right hand, where it was colored for the tip of it, and then there were these black lines like on top of that. And I was like, ooh, you just, like, you gave me something, like, you upgraded me, you gave me something, I love that. But she was basically like, don't get, what, I did say the part where she's like, don't get brainwashed? Yeah, she's basically, I don't know, she was like, don't get brainwashed, like, you know, I don't know. Basically saying, like, don't get brainwashed to ever believe that what seems impossible is truly impossible, essentially, because she was saying, like, for her as well, like, she would have believed that, like, I guess she was saying, like, had she believed that everything that seemed impossible were actually impossible, she wouldn't have, like, made it where she is, essentially. So she's like, look, like, don't believe that the impossible is ever truly impossible. So anyway, I loved that, because that was really just the emotion of love was what she was like really like sharing with me in that moment. And just like acceptance and love, and like, don't believe that just because something seems impossible that it has to truly like remain impossible. Even if it is impossible in the moment, like, don't fully allow yourself to be brainwashed about what's possible and what's not possible. It's just hard in this world, you know? But that was cool. I had to start the day with a ring pop, otherwise it would be mission impossible. Anyway, the second thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about is not as exciting as that dream. Not as exciting as that dream. Alright? Anyway, wait. Okay, my tongue looks way cuter than it did at the other part of the video. For some reason I showed you my tongue at some point, I think. When I did, it looks cuter now. It upgraded, I don't know, it's cute. Because before I had already brushed my teeth, but this is morning tongue, and now this is giving like tongue where I had already eaten something. It's different, you know? And sometimes it feels way more seductive than I even meant for it to when I'm eating a ring pop. I'm not against it, it's just funny. It's like a surprise. Like, remember this? That like, ring pops could be way more seductive than you even thought of them as, but like, you know, like, I don't know. Like, it seems so dramatic. It seems so dramatic. But like, why not, right? So, next thing I'm not even gonna take as like that long of a story. I'm just gonna say roar. Roar, roar, roar. I think that's just what people say when they don't know what else to say. Roar. I think it's just like I have to say something, but I don't know what I'm gonna say. Right? I don't know, I would just randomly explain something to you that you could have just intuitively known. I would do that. I would do that. Okay. Sometimes, I know I have my personality, but sometimes I wonder if my personality is like a combination of personalities that I've seen as well. And I'm like, does my deep internal psyche just like make a copy of like personalities that I see out in the wild and like download them and then just use them when I'm not even consciously aware of me using them specifically? Do I copy others? I mean, I do have a tattoo that says copycat, so maybe I do. My fear about this is deep. My trust in my ability to believe any possible outcome that I come up with is surface level. But don't worry, because my ability to work through the very deep fear is the strongest. So even then, I'm only helping myself. Sorry, I don't know what that moment of monologue was. I think I just like made a copy of somebody else's psyche and downloaded it to my brain as a computer. Yeah. Anyway. I guess might as well just tell you. We're at 20 minutes. Okay, so I was like having a conversation with my mom. Like, my sisters were there, my mom was there, and I was there. And so this was not a dream, this was real. This was real life. This actually happened. Which is why I'm telling you about this part, because I'm like, huh? Like, the drag queen thing, that was cool. This other part, I'm just like, it is what it is. It is what it is. So my sisters were just like playing on the computer. My mom and I was just talking about like college, whatever. Like, we were both like, okay, like I understand. Like, I was explaining to her part of like why I'm not in college. She was like, okay, like I understand your perspective, whatever. Like, don't go into debt. Like, I get it. Like, that's normal to not want. And then she was like telling my sisters like, make sure you get a scholarship. Like, you know, it was like kind of normal. Then I was like, yeah, like I also have multiple businesses. I'm just hoping that at some point I end up like growing to the point where I can actually make money off of them, like enough that it would be sustainable and actually like function more like how a business is meant to function, you know, like that's my goal. And she was like, you don't own any businesses. I was like, no, even according to Google, even according to like Google, I own 3 going on a 4th business. That's just, you know, according to Google, like that's just true. That's just like, we can like check the resources on this, like that's just like what I would say is true, right? She was like, yeah, no, that's not true, you just don't know what a business is. You have to like go to the government and get like tax papers, basically, to like prove that you have a business. I was like, actually, every business that I have is taxable. I've just never made enough to have to do taxes on them, to be really honest with you. Like, I've only dabbled in things. I've never like full-time really seriously done anything. I only have like potential income, basically. Like I have like some, but it's like lower numbers, right? Like numbers where realistically I could be like, is it gonna work out, is it not, you know? like I have the numbers where you can speculate on whether it's possible. Be like, if it is possible at all, it's gonna snowball and be something huge, but if it's not possible, then I'll just stay where I'm at, I guess. Like, not actually, but like I'll grow as a person, but you know what I'm saying? Like I have numbers that if somebody really wants to walk all over me, they can, right? You know what I'm saying? But I was like, oh, well, like, my goal essentially, like, to put it plainly, would be to have multiple streams of income, because I already have multiple platforms that could be easily monetized and also would all grow each other. And businesses. I feel like Scooby-Doo saying I have businesses, you know, like, like, I don't know, like, where are the Scooby snacks? Because some of this has to be real, alright? That's all I'm saying. Anyway, she basically keeps going, saying like more and more, like aggressively being like, you don't own any businesses, you don't own any businesses, like more and more aggressively, to the point where I was like, fine, I don't own any businesses. Like then I just felt like all of my power in that moment was like taken away from me, because my genuine truth, like I'm still realizing this whole like, there's power in what you say, so don't let other people manipulate you into saying something that's not your genuine, authentic truth, right? I'm still working on that, because in my brain I'm like, but why would anyone be so manipulative that they would care? But then the second I was like, fine, I guess I don't own any businesses. But then she was like, okay, good, and just like I don't know, like left the conversation, essentially, like left it where it was finally. And I was like, now I suddenly feel like all of my power was taken away from me. Like I genuinely feel manipulated to have said that. Like I'm still working on being fine with that feeling of the moment where you feel like your power is taken from you, right? Because I have to work on having enough like strength inside of me to where even when something's taken away, I still feel strong and powerful on my own. But having that taken away from me, when you feel like the other person intentionally like did that, you know, it gets ridiculous at some point. It's like, am I gonna sit here and explain something ridiculous? Am I really going to? It gets ridiculous at some point. It gets ridiculous at some point. Why would I explain to someone how I do own a business. Like, if they're already searching for every possible thing that's wrong with me, if this is the type of person that would make me feel disempowered intentionally, and then, or even make me feel for a moment like they're intentionally making me feel disempowered, find out that I feel that way and then not care, and not tell me that that's not true, we're so far out of like left field of intentionally making me feel uncomfortable and then me tolerating it, essentially, is what I'm learning. My boundaries are not good. That's where I'm at. The problem is my boundaries are not good. That's where I'm at. You know? My boundaries are not that good. But I stress myself out when I think about, well, then what would it look like if I did have stronger boundaries? Would the people who I'm talking about constantly invading my boundaries be there? Would I still have them in my life in any capacity if I had boundaries? That's the problem. That's the reason why I allow them to cross my boundaries, because if I didn't, what else would the relationship be? Because it's never been anything else. If the other person's never showed me anything else, ever. Then you make the best you can out of it. The best that you can out of it is usually allowing them to cross your boundaries to some degree, but then eventually saying no when it's too much, right? But, you know, it's not my favorite. It doesn't mean that I don't have a high enough level of tolerance for it to work even comfortably with me. It's just that when somebody's gonna like blow things out of proportion and overly care, and then I'm like, actually nobody on the planet is important enough for me to censor my speech over whether or not I have a business when all I said is I do, and whether anybody would try to rationalize that as, oh, I misspoke, whatever, forcing me to like apologize for that, whatever. Nope, I don't think that anyone's important enough for me to like overly censor my speech based on however their own mind is currently structured with the neurological pathways they have, to ever like, essentially, if they're going to intentionally misinterpret me and interpret me badly, that's their business and not mine, and I'm not about to jump in that swamp and try to force the alligators to change their mind, right? If you have alligators in your mind, that's great, but I don't. We're in Florida though, so it's the wild. You never know. But it's not on me. So I learned a few things in that moment. I learned that I have done enough self-work that I no longer care about people picking me apart, even people in my immediate proximity and family. I learned that a lot of the people that I look up to as people who, well, things fizzle away. No shade, just honesty, things fizzle away. The amount that we look up to somebody as superior to us fizzles away and goes away when people don't treat you respectfully. Those things leave you. Those things leave you. You're like, you look at yourself and you're like, damn, I really did figure it out. Because who was I learning from? I really did figure out how to be like a really, really good person. Well-rounded individual. I really did figure it out. I looked at a skeleton and said, I already know where all the organs go, you know? At least I'm grateful that I had a skeleton, right? Not everybody does, but I looked at a skeleton and said, I know where all the organs go. and then accurately assembled it. And a lot of people don't even have skeletons, and a lot of people are working their entire lives just to even make the skeleton. But I'm saying for me, I am impressed with myself that I looked at a skeleton and said I already know where all the organs go and everything I completed, like, accurately enough, right? Like, as far as like the structure of my mind that I was given versus what I was willing to create with that for myself. You know? Anyway, nobody on the planet is important enough for you to change your own like mind just to fit what they want. Alrighty? But sometimes wanting other people in your life means negotiating within yourself how much of them am I really willing to like put up with, essentially, and how valuable of a person are they. Like, you find out where the wiggle room is on either side and decide, okay, like, obviously if I do want this person in my life, which for me I decided I do, but there's decisions to be made about how much are you willing to let them influence you, and how much weight do you put on the things that they say. Do you take the things that they say as really, really important, like they're gonna tear up and ruin your entire world if they say something mean to you? Or are you going to take some of the weight off and say, you know what, I'm just gonna see this person neutrally as they are and decide whether or not I want to take certain things from certain things that they're saying and doing. Like, decide where those lines are, right? Decide where those lines are, essentially. Anyway, the drag queen dream, my favorite. The situation with my mom, very stupid and unnecessary and annoying. Unnecessary criticism, but it's the kind of thing where, like, I don't get triggered by that. Like, I get annoyed, I get bothered, I get like, why would my, you know, it, to some point it's super obvious. I'm like, okay, so my mom is intentionally trying to take power away from me that, like, I just naturally have as a person, right? Like, due to literally everything I've worked through, it's like you feel like you have this sense of wholeness. Then it's like your own mom is like, I'm gonna see if I can take that away in the moment. And then when she does, suddenly she's satisfied with the conversation, and you also feel the energetic switch where you're like, suddenly I feel less empowered as a person by a lot, you know? It's sketchy to notice that person immediately act satisfied with the conversation the exact moment that you feel more not okay with it, right? What do you mean you're suddenly satisfied and your work here is done? What do you mean? What do you mean? Your entire goal, maybe you should make some new goals, because your entire goal here, I deserve a right to talk about people making me uncomfortable regardless of who they are. Anyway, I love you guys. Bye.